Hey, everybody. You're listening to and watching the Comic Book Bears podcast. I'm Bill Zanowitz,
And I'm Steve Morey.
and we are your hairy, heavy homos that talk about comic books, but you don't have to be a hairy, heavy homo to listen in, or in this case, stream in. And this might be a little shorter episode than usual because it's just the two of us, no particular agenda apart from showing you what we have in our DCBS boxes. We've never done anything close to like an unboxing. And in my case, it's not even unboxing. What was that?
There was one time where I opened my box. Yeah.
On video?
There was one time.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah. It's been a year, though. It's literally been a year.
All right. I didn't think we ever did that. I thought maybe we did it on the audio. I don't know. So, and we'll have some current comic books to talk about. Really hasn't been a heavy news week. I don't think there's been any major developments.
Well, I mean, there has been like a big trailer that dropped.
Mm-hmm.
That I think we were all kind of waiting for a long time because it took forever to make. But
what are you talking about, Loki?
Forever.
Loki?
No, I'm talking about Jupiter's Legacy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I thought it was on schedule. Just that Magic Order was canceled.
I
thought this was always slated for this spot. Maybe wrong.
I don't know. I feel like it's been, because I know that the deal was inked back in 2017, so which is now 4 years ago, and this was supposed to be one of the big ones, just like Magic Order was supposed to come out, and development takes forever anyway, so it just feels like a long time, but I'm sure it's on time according to their producer schedule.
What is We 3 now? 17 years in development? Hell?
Give or take.
Yeah.
Sandman technically has been in development hell for 25 years, but actually might have it happen within a few months. We might be seeing it. So
something that hasn't happened though. What happened to Lock and Key Sandman universe?
Well, I mean the Zero issue came out last year.
Yeah.
And we're expected to get the first issue.
But we haven't had any solicits beyond the first.
No.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
one of those biannual 3 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those biannual.
It's on a doomsday clock schedule, I guess. But life happens. So, for people who are watching, and this is going to suck for people who are listening the next few minutes, but both Steve and I get a good portion of our books through DCBS, the mail order service. Steve still has much more of a presence at an LCS than I do.
A lot more, yeah.
Yeah. I have Saga set aside in an LCS, which means I haven't had anything to pick up in a long time. But I think I am going to add the new Grant Morrison book because I failed beyond the first issue. So I might add that. So I'll have at least some reason to hit Main Street Comics over in Milltown, New Jersey. So anyway, this I almost always defer to you, Steve, to start things off. But I think I'm just going with my gut. I'm going to start myself off here.
Sounds good.
The DCBS box. So, so this is actually a much smaller box than usual. The packing list says there are 40 items, and there have been times where I've had double that. So
multiple pages.
Yeah. So I didn't do the line for line count. There's sometimes it's so big you have to do that to just QC yourself. But the item count and my count was aligned, so I don't think there's anything that I'm missing. And if anybody's ever ordered a DCBS box, sometimes you get bubble wrap, sometimes you get peanuts, but more often than not, you get the foam injection, the sealed air, Instapack. So
my cat loves those.
Yeah. So there's that. So every time the first thing that I look for is the previews. And we have So there we go. Previews. That's always the first thing I look through when I take stuff out. Now, again, I get most DC books. You know, some exceptions here and there, but for the most part, I get every single issue that DC puts out. And my reading order is that I will read the books that came out, you know, in this case, like the second week of March, third week of March, fourth week, you know, so I keep the order. I don't bundle it unless there's something like 100 pager that might take a long time, and then that's like a bathroom break book, you know. So sometimes I make exceptions, but and because this book, the box only came yesterday, I haven't been able to read too much. So anything I do talk about tonight will be DC. So I was only able to get through the second and third week of March. I had the weeks 2 through 5 in here for March. So first week, we have Batman Urban Legends. Okay. And Green Lantern Season 2, the final issue, number 12. This was a variant cover. And this, I don't know if you bailed on this, Steve, or you were still getting this. The last issue is fully painted by Liam Sharp, and some really nice stuff in there.
Oh, that's good.
Yep. First issue of the Joker ongoing series, which sold Boku. Rorschach number 6, which Brian talked about last week, and this was loaded. That's the only way I'll put it. I have the first issue with I always butcher the order of this guy's name. Philip Kennedy Johnson's run on Superman, and like some of the issues, this did have a gatefold variant, so I got that. And Wonder Woman, the first issue with the new creative team, and this is, you know, with her post-God status. And then next week, the truly awful Batman versus Ra's al Ghul from Neil Adams. Woo!
Well,
like damn close to unreadable. You know, God bless Neil Adams. Yeah, it was painful. It was really bad. It was really bad. Catwoman. And then we have the Bendis launch of Justice League. And I did something I normally don't do. I double dipped on this. I got the standard cover. And like I said, I've been liking these gatefolds, so I got the gatefold cover as well.
Oh, that's nice.
And then
that's nice.
That's nice. And Steve, as you know, there was a mechanism in place that for a long time I was getting books from DC's all ages branch like Looney Tunes and Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? For free while they had newsstand distribution. That's ended, but I got used to them. So I've Looney Tunes, number 259. I just kept going.
It brings you joy.
It does. It brings me much joy. Nightwing by Tom Taylor, start of his run. Might be talking about that one a little more. The anthology Superman Red and Blue with a number of pretty well-known creators, including Oscar winner John Ridley.
Interesting.
In there. And Truth and Justice number 2, which is a digital first series, and this is the print collection of that digital first. This particular issue has Superman, and these are basically stories that orbit around the notion of social justice. So they probably drive the conservatives crazy. The fourth week, the first issue of Johnson with Action Comics. The final issue of the current Batman Black and White anthology series.
Okay.
Got Batman Superman number 16, which is what's his name? Dag Nabbit. Did Superman versus the Klan and
UN, isn't it?
UN, yeah. Gene UN.
Gene UN.
Yeah. And that's the start of his run on that. The final issue of Batman White Knight presents Harley Quinn in the White Knight universe. This one I'm really looking forward to, the first issue by Tamaki on Detective Comics.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And forgive me, I'm just more writer than artist oriented, so that's how I refer to
Mhm.
things. So, sorry, folks. The first issue of the relaunched Harley Quinn, the
Awesome.
the first issue of Teen Titans Academy,
Also cool.
and then we get to that final week, and we have the next issue, issue 4 of Batman Catwoman, and this is a Jim Lee variant cover.
Hmm.
And then we have the first issue of The Flash in the new run with the return of Wally West in that mantle,
Hmm.
or holding that mantle, and forget the correct parlance. Ninth issue of Strange Adventures by Tom King and Doc Shaner and Mitch Gerard. See, I didn't mention artists sometimes. Then we have the Future State by Mark Russell, Superman versus Imperious Lex. There actually was another issue of
Yep.
this.
It was a 3-issue series, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but this
compared
was
to the
published
other.
outside of the
Mhm.
2 months. And then we also have the other history of the DC Universe number 3. And I believe this is pretty much Katana centric. Still
Mhm.
wrapped, haven't read it yet. So those are the DCs. Some that are the first half that I've read, the second half that I haven't yet. I still get a very small amount of Marvels. I wish they had something that interested me more to shift to click the buttons on. But I do get X-Men number 19.
There you go.
And this is Avengers number 43. This is the Alex Ross timeless variant covers. So you see
Oh, that's
Vision there.
nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we have Marvel free previews. Always get that.
Because it's free.
Okay, then we're going to venture into the independent world. I got the first issue of Noctera by
Mhm.
Scott Snyder and Tony Daniel.
Which was actually pretty good. I was
Okay, good.
I didn't know what to expect with it, and I really enjoyed it.
Okay, and then we have and this is something cool that they're doing for Stray Dogs. There's always a variant, which
Mhm.
pays homage to a classic horror film. So this is Stray Dogs number 2. I talked about Stray Dogs number 1 on the show last week.
Yep. I just wanted to quickly bring up John Runyon. Here is Bill almost breaking my heart, but then saving it with those Marvel pickups.
Yeah.
We actually do have a couple people
Oh, cool.
with us tonight who are commenting. John Runyon, of course. Hello, John, from A Comic Book Look. We also have David Hazan, David Toby here. Almost as old as I am. That Sandman production. It's true. Yeah,
It's
I
true.
think back in the day, it's been
Yeah.
threatened for 25 years.
Yeah, no, I think that the first option was 1996 with Universal. Does that
Yeah,
sound
I,
right?
I
Yeah.
I would agree with that. It was sometime in the
Yeah.
90s. Yeah.
Yeah.
We also have Tony Gilkinson joining
Hey,
us. Hey there,
Tony.
you hairy homos.
Yep.
Well, I think Bill's beard is a lot more floofy than mine. So,
Yeah.
and then we also have Lima Nato joining us as well.
Oh,
Good evening,
okay.
handsome comic book bears.
Yeah,
So,
he joined us, I
hello,
believe,
Lima.
last week or
Yes,
recently.
yeah,
Yeah. So
that's
I have
right.
just a handful more books. The World of Black Hammer is represented by Black Hammer Visions number 2. I still
I like
haven't
that.
found number 1. Dig nabbit. Barbalian Red Planet, the final issue, number 5. I have a tiny stack of Black Hammer. I'm saving that to get through. A book that
Yeah,
you talked about last week, Proctor Valley Road, number 1. This was
there you
the
go.
title I couldn't think of. That I might have to go to the LCS. Book from one of our favorite publishers, Ahoy Comics. I have The Wrong Earth, number 3,
Good
the Night
issue.
and Day series.
That was
And
good.
this isn't. I almost always know somebody in the back material. Though this is one of the rare exceptions. But speaking of people that we know, I finally got my physical copy of Nottingham number
Yay!
1.
Yay!
So David Hazan, That's
Who is
officially in my
joining us
collection.
today? Yeah.
And another very good friend of the show, Rich Rivera, is represented by
Yes.
Wild Bill and Chipper from
Yep.
Scoot, which is Scout Comics, all ages imprint. And then I got two trades. I got the collected Getting It Together by another friend of
Yes.
the show, Tina Grace.
Which for some reason my brain, when I
Yeah,
saw
your
that,
brain
it
went
like
like
immediately
poop
went to
today.
Ghosted in LA, and I
Yeah.
was like, oh, is the back matter in there? Yeah, like
And
no.
then
Thankfully, Cena corrected me very publicly on Facebook, so I was
and then James from Bear Nerd will be
about that.
happy. I finally have my copy of Wonder Woman Earth 1, Volume 3. So
Yay, that's
that's my
awesome.
books for the month. Yeah.
Too many.
But
John Westoff, too many friends. That's correct, John. Maybe we might start cutting friends.
no, I never would cut off a friend.
Never cut off friends.
Never. No, I have Paul
Thank you for
McCartney
joining us, John.
syndrome to the maximum. I like to be liked. So
just get yourself a Yoko, and everyone will love you and your choices.
I wonder, Steve. I wonder if we have anything in common in here. Let's find out.
I think we probably will. So one thing that I've done differently, through DCBS, what I order versus what I pick up on my LCS, I actually buy a lot for my LCS. In fact, the majority of my comics come from the store. On any given week, I usually don't leave the store with fewer than 10 books. And some weeks it's, anywhere between 15 and 20. So it just depends on whether it's a heavy week or not. And if I see a bunch of stuff that catches my eye. Again, I have tons of these things, whatever. I could build a fort, like a sealed air fort thing. So I'm just going to push them off onto the floor and pretend I'll pick them up later. Okay, it's a little bit heavier because one of the things that I do tend to get from my DCBS, I do get, DC books that catch my eye. For a time I was buying basically every DC book that was out there. At first I was buying it for my LCS, and then I went cold turkey for a while, and then got back into DC Comics through the DCBS box and bought way too many. So I've been cutting back, to particular titles that I like. But I also get a lot of like interesting trades that are hard to find that I don't usually get at my LCS, because it's not really the kind of stuff that my store would normally have. Some of the more indie stuff, a lot of the Fantagraphics, drawn and quarterly, things like that.
And that also makes some sense because the discounts on Fantagraphics and D&Q aren't really too deep with what we get from. So that does.
And if sense. I don't get them through DCBS, then I'll sometimes pick them up from my local indie bookstore, Bookmarks here in Winston-Salem. So I support them as well. And they do have a really good selection of indie stuff that they curate. So one of those was Girlsplaining by Katja Klengel, that caught my eye, and it's just a very interesting book from Archaea, actually, about about what it's like to be a woman, be a girl, and all the craziness that happens because whatever. So it just seems really fun and looked really cool. And then also this book, which I know has been starting to get a lot of attention from queer book enthusiasts, is I Never Promised You a Rose Garden by Manny Murphy. This is put out by Fantagraphics as well, and it does come highly recommended. So it's just an interesting kind of style, kind of similar to from a couple of years ago, and I know this is one of Caleb's favorite books, is My Favorite Thing is Monsters. So there's a lot of sort of like lined paper sketch style, very cool, very journalistic, and just very interesting kind of stuff. So then, of course, we can get into the actual big stuff, because I don't want to go through piece by piece, but here's my copy of The Other History of the DC Universe.
Do we have different covers?
Yep, it's a different cover. So I usually get the variant covers, but I'm not sure if I got the variant for this one or not.
Yeah,
but,
either you got the variant and I didn't, or vice versa.
Vice versa, exactly. And I tried to get the variant more than anything else, just because I like sometimes finding interesting stuff, and you don't
I
usually see them on
get
the
the
shelf.
variant if it's the same price. If it's more, I
Mhm.
won't do it. And just because I buy so many of the
Yeah,
DC books, I did make an exception this month though with the Pride Month covers. Uh, I
yeah, I
basically got
did the same.
all of the Pride Month except for the variant on the main anthology because that was ugly.
So,
I got the main cover.
just like you, I also have a copy of previews
Okay.
with the Marvel free previews as
Yeah.
well. A lot of
Do you
times,
remember there was a?
I
Do you remember there was that window where you also had DC and Image, and when you open previews, like it would be just like,
This is massive. So you had
yeah,
Images magazine, which was
Image
like
Plus, yeah,
oversized
Image
Image
Plus,
Plus,
yeah.
which had some really great stuff in it. In fact, if you had collected all of them, you would have had the entire run of
Oh,
Negan's story, which
yeah.
was only available at that point in that magazine, and now, of course, it's been published in
And from what I
official issue. But
understand, they did have an episode that was borrowed very heavily from that
yes,
very recently.
yes.
I haven't watched The
So
Walking Dead in years, but
yeah,
I really enjoyed that. I was like, the first time I was reading that, oh my god, that makes perfect sense what he did before this. You know?
he coached Little League.
Spoiler.
So one of the other things that I also pick up, just because it's fun to pick through, and most people don't really know this, but I do love very complex and many piece containing board games. I'm a big tabletop board game person, and I don't own that many, but I love looking at catalogs filled with them. And this is basically previews for board gamers. GTM magazine, and it usually comes with a lot of free stuff. So this one comes with a pack of Dragon Ball cards.
Oh, neat.
Interestingly enough, it sometimes comes with posters. Interesting, Wonder Woman 84 card game coming out sometime soon. But it is previews. You can order straight from here, or
Yeah.
you can think of articles about games in development and
Yeah.
certain games getting reviewed.
There was a month where they offered that for free, so I got it, and I was really impressed by the layout and the structure of the book. And it's not expensive either. It's like
No,
pennies, right?
no, and yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's like less than $1 if you buy
Yeah.
it through
Yeah.
DCBS. So it's pretty cool. And this is something that I've only just started getting because I was curious last year, and it took almost an entire year to actually start getting them because of coronavirus restrictions for export. And that is 2000 AD. I've started getting the prog packs on a monthly basis. Problem is they were backed up for so long that now they're starting to sort of double up now that they're catching up. So this is actually, I believe this is the December 3 special prog pack. So it has like 2 normal issues plus a Christmas issue. And then the November prog pack. So basically with the prog packs, it's 4 issues, 4 progs. Basically one for every week for the month. And if you get the pack, then you get all 4 of them all in one, which is pretty cool.
I do believe some Barnes and Noble sell it in that format as well now in the prog packs because it's much cheaper in terms of VAT and other export concerns.
Well, I mean, cheap. It is definitely cheaper for people who are importing it and buying it in the U.S. because individually issues cost about £3, so about $5, $5.50 or so each. But if you buy all 4 in the prog pack, that usually cuts about 70, not 70, cuts about 30 or 40% off of it. So it's not so pricey to buy them all in one go. If you're trying to get them each individually, sometimes it can be a little bit more. So then of course, again for DCBS, they tend to pack all of these things into these insane origami style plastic things.
We have more rubber bands because of this. Never will ever need another rubber band ever.
No, I keep telling Jason, it's like, you know what, you need rubber bands, just wait. I got some coming. So of course here's my packing list that's always packed with the comics itself, and they actually taped it to the back of this so I can use it as my checklist, which I do. Now I actually go and get everything bagged and boarded. So I pay the extra for that. It's not a lot more, and it just makes it easier and gives an extra protection while it's in transit. So here's my copy of Nottingham #1. Finally, I now have it as well. Thank you very much, David. So I'm really excited to have a copy of this, and of course I have #2 coming, #3, number 2 and 3 are all pre-ordered, so I can't wait for those to come in as well. I have the Justice League wraparound cover as well. And I'm just going to kind of flow through these because we have a lot of them. Insane Strange Adventures. Here's like the Action Comics. Copy. Yep, this is the special cover.
Variant. Yeah, that's nice.
For $10.29. Yeah. And then also Batman Superman 16 variant cover as well. Here's my copy of Wild Bull and Chipper. I've actually, what's really funny, I know Rich has had this before.
Yeah, this is just the version that's on Scout. Scoot.
Exactly. On Scout's new Scoot.
So this has been out before, and it's also with his co-creator of Stabity, and which is Dwayne Biddix. So it's the same crew on that. But
definitely, and it's a fun book. I've read this before. I really enjoyed it. I'm not sure how much he changed for.
I'll have to take a look. Yeah.
But I'm just excited. I'm just happy to see it. So I'm of course, as soon as I saw the solicit, I picked it up. And then also here's the new Flash issue. Again, the variant cover showing the various Flash outfits for Wally. There, of course, the blue one there is when he was, just recently basically in the chair.
Nurse practitioner Manhattan. Yeah.
Nurse practitioner Manhattan. Superman #29. Again, this is actually the wraparound cover, so I had to get that as well. And the Wonder Woman 770, also wraparound cover.
And I love that. Wait.
Yes.
Wait a second. How did I not get
maybe
that?
It's not wraparound. Yeah, it is wraparound.
No, it's wraparound. That's definitely wraparound.
It is. And it is gorgeous.
I guess I just didn't see it.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Also, Steve looks pretty gorgeous there too.
I am frustrated. Unless it was one of the situations where it cost much more than the standard.
It is $5. Yeah, it's a $5 cover. But one thing that I'm really happy to see is that logo right there, that W logo, of course, because this is the 80th anniversary this year.
You'll be seeing that a lot. There's a lot of Wonder Woman books coming up.
Yeah, so I'm excited for that. Seeing all the solicits that have been coming up, and also just what they have that's being offered this year. I'm just really excited. This is something that I know you didn't get, was Berserker #1.
Berserker.
Which is Berserker. Do you like a making fuck Berserker? Yes, this is Keanu Reeves' book that has been delayed and resolicited multiple times. It is finally out. So I'm excited to read it. I have no idea what it's about. I don't really care. It's got, Keanu Reeves wrote it, and I'm sure he's going to be starring in the film version. That is inevitable. Matt Kint also co-wrote, so I'm expecting that it's going to be a fun read. So I got that. Here's my copy of Rorschach. It is a different cover than yours. I don't believe it's the alternative cover. I want to say this is the standard.
No, that is the variant cover.
Oh, this is the variant cover.
Yeah, that's the variant cover.
Well, pretty cool.
And I think that's probably the only issue so far that's been in the Watchmen format.
It could
in terms
be
of the trade dress. I may be wrong, but I
be.
do believe I remember reading that. Okay.
American Vampire 1976. I actually used to be, almost a religious reader of Snyder and Albuquerque's American Vampire series. I kind of fell off after they went into the 50s. But I decided to get back into it with 1976. So,
confession, cool. I've never read a single issue of American Vampire.
Oh, that's too bad.
And everybody tells me I'd like it.
Yeah, check it out.
Have. Yeah.
If someday, I'm sure you can get the trades. The trades are available everywhere.
They're not going
hardcover versions.
So, yeah. But I've never read anything.
Speaking of, wonderful Vertigo books from back in the day that have now been reborn under DC Black Label, Sweet Tooth: The Return. Also shows that have Netflix or Hulu. I think maybe Hulu was putting this one out.
Sweet Tooth, I was waiting for trade on that.
Yeah. It's definitely one to read all at once. I read the original one all in trade. So, and then of course here's that Green Lantern issue for number 12. It is the variant cover that you have as well, and that's it. That's all I have.
Okay,
so, it's a lot. It's a lot.
You don't get any Marvel through
no
DCBS.
And no, all of my Marvel and the majority of my comics are LCS pickups. So,
okay.
Unless I've got something that I absolutely have to have, and I know my LCS will sell out of or not have when time comes, like say Nottingham, for example, because it just sells out super fast. So,
I know when we had the bundles, you were getting the DC and the Valiant. Are you still getting Valiant through DCBS, or is that a LCS thing now that there's... And anyway, there's still a few books anyway right now.
I know. Yeah, it's like maybe once a month, if that.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. DCBS has yet to update their major publisher list when you first go in there. So if you click on it now on the main page, Valiant Entertainment Inc., there's nothing. But if you scroll down in the more under Valiant Entertainment LLC, because it's had an official change, that's where the Valiant books are. So I didn't know that for a couple of months, so I missed a few issues. Not much, again, because they haven't had much published.
Okay.
But I did miss a couple issues from that. But so again, I'll get them through there. Almost all my Images, Dark Horse, Vault, Aftershock, other indie stuff that I pick up. I get that from my LCS, so and Marvel, of course, like anything Marvel I read, which is almost entirely just X-Men. So, and now I've got to do something with this giant pile of comics.
So that's a little peek, folks, into what we get, because we certainly don't talk about every book that we get on the show.
No, we read a lot more than we talk about, and sometimes we also accumulate a lot more than we have time to read. So
you just can't see it here, but it's bad.
I'm really excited about my trades this time. My books.
I am confident that I will not be able to get if I just retired today. I'm confident I would never get through every comic I have. I'm confident. There's just too many.
Well, I know you've read almost all your comics.
No.
Right?
Oh, no. No.
Well,
no, I have huge numbers of books I've never read. Because when I got back into comics, just a little backstory here. When I was in law school, there's no money. There's no money.
Yeah.
And I was putting myself through, and when I was looking for cheap entertainment, that's when I kind of got back into comics, because I had these boxes and boxes, and some of the stuff I'd read, some of the stuff I hadn't read in ages, and there's always pockets of stuff you mean to get to. And that's kind of what set me off on the comic book thing again. And then when I was able to, have an income stream, that's when the back issue stuff really hit for me. And also when I really got into fandom as well. So, there's whole runs of stuff like this last week at the store that's very close by. They don't have any new books. It's all old books. I got a lot of the Cassandra Cain Batgirl issues, like a very healthy run of like 30 or so, for very cheap, for 50 cents each. And I don't know when I'm going to get to those, so there's a lot of stories like that. Yeah.
Well, hey, we have a couple more comments. Sure. Obviously, David Toby in reference to Nottingham.
Yeah.
That is sort of like the smiley mask, scary mask. Ray Martinez. Hi, Ray. Has joined us. He loves Wild Bill and Chipper, so that's awesome. And then also, Lima did want to give some additional lyrics to the classic rock song Berserker.
I'm just seeing if I can find
Berserker.
I'm just seeing if I can find the Clerk soundtrack real quick, but no. Okay.
Yeah. So for anybody watching or listening who doesn't get that reference, it is Clerks, and just go out and watch it. It's goofy. It's recurring.
You'll understand why you're saying Berserker and the
Berserker. Yeah. But yeah. So all of our stuff that we will maybe someday read. But we do have some stuff that we have read that we want to talk to you about today.
All right. Look at you, Steve. I'm so happy. Look at you. You're kind of taking charge. I didn't even have to feed you lines, so there you go. Transition.
Fine.
All right, Steve. Tell us about something you're reading that you're digging. How to get that official line.
First off, I did want to read this, and a lot of times I will go through a store, sometimes even like a new comic shop or a comic shop I haven't been to for a while, and just kind of peruse what they have recommended. There's always a recommended table, or so-and-so's picks, that's prominently displayed. And then sometimes they just have some weird stuff that's just highlighted on a shelf. And I know I read about this coming out sometime last year, and I didn't think to pre-order it and just haven't really been looking for it. But of course it stood out because it's something somebody recommended at a store at Heroes Aren't Hard to Find in Charlotte when I was there recently. And I picked up Please Don't Step on My Jinko Jeans by Noah Van Sciver. And for those of you who recognize the last name, yes, they are brothers. He is I believe the middle brother of the other notorious Van Sciver. They're very different. Do not be scared off by the last name. But Noah Van Sciver is a cartoonist who lives in Columbus, Ohio, which I didn't know that, but he does sort of talk a lot about that town. He does write for the newspaper.
But a Jersey boy.
Yes, originally from Jersey. So
we'll
he does go back
this
home.
One. We'll proudly claim this one. Okay. All right.
And he does talk about his upbringing. He does go back to New Jersey on occasion and talks about that. But this book is a collection of a lot of his cartoons, his comic strips that he's done for various newspapers and free papers and other things. And it's mostly just his observations on life. And some of them are absolutely hilarious that had me rolling while I was reading them. And some of them are absolutely devastating and just quietly depressing, funny, but in that, it's funny, but I also feel it right here. And he's very self-deprecating. He does have, a very sort of mundane view on the world, but at the same time, there's some just flashes of really fun creativity and enormity.
I once had to describe his work, and I thought I boiled this down pretty well. But again, this is now a problematic reference. Imagine Woody Allen as a cartoonist, yet instead of jazz, he grew up on pavement.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that lo-fi music vibe that runs through his work. It's a nice compliment to that kind of stuff. So I really like his stuff, and I'm probably going to pick this up at some point.
It's fun. It's goofy, and he just has a great way of putting himself in these positions that are sometimes just so regular and boring, but just his little observation of it just makes it really funny. So I recommend picking it up. This is one of the funny things, like comic strips like this, or collected sets of comic strips like this is how I originally got into comics before actually reading comic books. Everybody remembers getting their Garfield Treasury or their Far Side Treasury editions when they were little kids looking at the Scholastic paper or whatever. And I got tons of those. Well, some people. growing up in the 80s and 90s and early 90s, that's how
For me, it
you
was
got your
Peanuts.
books.
Okay, it was
Peanut.
Peanuts.
At
Yeah.
my grandparents' house, that was
Yeah.
the only sort of like kids lit book,
Mhm.
other than the Adventures of Dick and Jane, basically,
Mhm.
and not the satirical thing.
Mhm.
But I read the Peanuts Treasury from like 1968 or 69 that they had in their house. It was that huge white hardcover volume, cover to cover. Every time I visited, and I loved it. So that's kind of what I grew up on, and this is very similar to that. But obviously it's fun. But anyway, I recommend it. It's put out by Fantagraphics, of course, purveyors of fine depression, and humorous bon mot, in premium packages. But yeah, just came out in the past couple of months and is available at most stores. So pick it up. Do not step on my Jinko jeans. And for those of you who grew up in the mid to late 90s, you know what Jinkos are. So
Okay, so I'm going to go into my books, but I feel I have to say something first. I know I'm a DC guy, but I literally have thousands of independent comic books. And if I had read a list of, my favorite comic collected editions or graphic novels, there certainly are works like The Silent Invasion and The House by Paco Roma. What's it? What? I got to know this guy's name. Paco Loco? Paco Roca. Yeah.
Paco Roca.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So some of my favorite stuff are independent. Something happened when COVID hit, and I talked about this when I guested on Southern Fried Geekery, and I was just much more inclined to escape into non-reality, and I just wasn't equipped for slice of life stuff. So I'm kind of still in that place, and I think that's why even some of the independent stuff I get are they're border on superhero stuff like The Wrong Earth, or it's in that ambit. So I don't want people to think that I don't have an appreciation for the kind of material that you just handle. I certainly have familiarity with it. It's just I'm in a phase right now where it's that stuff just isn't clicking with me in the way it has in the past.
Yeah.
So,
well,
and even even I said that, and last week none of my books were big too.
Yeah.
So.
Which is funny,
I
but
just feel so weird
totally
sometimes because you're talking about something that might have like a print run of like 2,500 and is on a small publisher. I mean, Fantagraphics is much bigger than that, but it's just a development that I'm still in that mindset that I want total escapism. So.
And that's totally cool. And actually, I do want to, before we move on, I did want to say, John Runyon here, Calvin and Hobbes.
Calvin and Hobbes happened when I was a teenager, and that gave me an appreciation for it that I don't think I would have had as a child.
Interesting.
It was amazing though. I was a lifeguard when you have that whole sequence where Calvin's going for swimming lessons with that exasperated teacher. I was a lifeguard during that time. It was just like I would just be like, like this is so me. I love Calvin and Hobbes to death, and they're all over there. I never upgraded to the complete because it's still pricey, but the original versions are all there in the collections. All right, let me talk about a comic book. Comic book I'm going to talk about is Justice League #1, written by Brian Bendis with art by David Marquez, and I was not very impressed with his Legion run. And I understand it's not necessarily over. There may be more from something that he's teased. Not that I thought that taking a different turn on Legion was uncalled for. It just didn't work for me. It was too jumbled. Which I think is, almost like a pitfall you have to recognize when you have a cast of characters that's like 72. Characters, there's going to be jumble.
How big's this team?
Yeah. And going in, I thought, well, this is going to be New Avengers, with the
Hmm.
snark and the, oh, look how funny, things are going with Spider-Man taking Wolverine's food out of the fridge, that kind of stuff, which I thought made, his revitalization of Avengers great, because and the stuff that came before that was, I thought, very good. I like Jeff Johns' run as much as I can't stand most of Chuck Austin's work. I thought on Avengers he nailed it. I love
Mm.
his issues in there, but it was also a franchise that needed a major reboot.
Yeah.
I don't think necessarily Justice League is in that bracket, but this was a really solid start. As you
Mm.
can see here, we have a very different team, though their faces are in shadows. Superman, Batman, Aquaman, Hawkgirl, Green Arrow, and Black Canary are familiar names. We also have new members: Hippolyta, Black Adam, and Naomi. And
Hmm.
we haven't gotten the full story yet. This team hasn't completely coalesced in the first issue, but um, the threat felt worthy of the Justice League, and I think that's one of the biggest problems when you are writing team books is the adversaries have to be earth-shaking, and we get that to varying degrees depending upon the writer. But I thought this was a really solid start. I like the interaction between the team members. I like the references that this is definitely a writer that's in touch with everything that's going on currently in the DC universe, so that there are allusions to Aquaman no longer being king and recently becoming a father. You have the discussions about Superman revealing his identity to the world. That's a substantial bit of dialogue regarding that. And the rationale for the team building and why Green Lantern and I keep saying Green Lantern, Green Arrow and Black Canary are perfect. Uh, it's a perfect time for them to return to the team. Um, it's not the New Avengers vibe, which I really thought there would be elements of that, and it's one issue. So
Mm. Yeah.
within 6 issues, you may have Green Arrow taking Black Adam's food out of the fridge, but um, I thought it was
The
a
fact
very
that Black
solid
Adam might
start.
use a fridge
I thought it was a
to
very
store
solid
stuff.
start, and with some of the DC books that are at the $4.99 price point now, we are getting backups, and we have a backup of Justice League Dark,
Mm.
which sets up Merlin as an adversary, and it was a jam-packed 8 pages, and I
Mm.
imagine these will be collected in trades that are fleshed out.
Yeah.
8-page stories might be like a full year and a half of stories, depending upon how long this initiative lasts. But very, very promising first issue, I thought.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Well, I mean that's good because the Justice League. I would say, unlike the Avengers, I think for the Justice League, because you have Superman almost, at least for the past 10, 15 years, Superman's been a prominent member of the
Mhm.
Justice League, and it's so hard to come up with an adversary that
Mhm.
Superman needs that much more help
Mhm.
with. I mean, Superman has his hands full in his own books with like these galactic problems.
Mhm.
So with a team like that, it either has to be the world and the universe is going to be destroyed every single time that an
Mhm.
adversary shows up, or else it doesn't make any sense. Like,
Mhm.
oh, I guess they're going to have trouble with like poachers, and and you're like, but that's not Justice League problem. That's like a couple members of the
Mhm.
Justice League problem. Um, but I'm really looking forward to this. I think that Bendis does know how to do earth shattering, but also personal. So
Yeah.
say what you want. Like, I mean, he's not everybody's cup of tea, but
Right.
he does have
But
that ability to kind of mix.
for all the bombastic and widescreen events that happened in his Avengers run, you also had these wonderful, really tender moments with Luke and Jessica Jones, and
Hmm.
this is just, him mining the team book is something I'm always excited about. You know,
Hmm.
if it can, whether it connects with me or not, I like him on team books, and I like Justice League. So,
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
And maybe we'll see some stuff that might end up, referring to things that'll happen in some of the TV or movies that are coming up, because I know Black Adam is coming up soon. So maybe.
Oh, I don't think the inclusion of Black Adam and Naomi is in any way arbitrary.
No.
Not at all.
Oh yeah, Naomi.
Not
They
at all.
have. Speaking of, they just posted some pictures. I think Ava DuVernay just posted a couple of pictures on her Instagram of the first day of filming. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to that one.
All right, tell us about something else.
So speaking of fun, crazy stuff and really cool, earth-shattering things, I've been reading this little book that people were surprised at when it came out because, one, they never announced it, and so it was just, surprise, it's at your LCS, come pick it up, maybe. But Robert Kirkman and Chris Burnham's little tiny series called Die, 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 which is just a constant explosion of blood, guts, gore, and ridiculous profanity. And it's been kind of sporadic the past year, I think, in its second or possibly third arc at this point. They have this is issue number 14 that just came out. As you can tell on the cover here, that is Barack Obama, President Obama, with hope and change as the names of his fisticuffs. And the plot of this, if you haven't read any Die, 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 doesn't matter, because the plot is completely out of what the plot of this issue. It doesn't have anything to do with the plots from the previous issues. So essentially, the American president is responsible at least once in each 4-year term of defending the entire planet in an intergalactic punch-out, basically, where he has to defeat champions from all these different alien races in order to make sure that Earth stays off limits for another 4 years. And if the president ever loses, then the aliens will say, okay, well, now it's fair season. And then they descend upon the Earth and, make it part of the galactic community by basically, divvying it up or doing whatever with it. So the rest of the Earth and, most of the Earth's populace can remain completely ignorant of their place in the universe because the American president goes and kicks ass every 4 years. So why is President Obama the one fighting it? Well, because to quote one of the characters in here, it just wouldn't be possible with that orange, with the orange doughy dude. I mean, he can't even get rained on. How could he ever fight? So, so they actually did have a coup so that they could put Obama back on the back in the office for this fight specifically.
Oh boy!
So they didn't have to deal with it. Now, in the letters page, they do joke about it. It's like, gee, I hope Biden doesn't have to do this, because that would be a terrible idea, having him do some kind of intergalactic boxing match. But my favorite part about this has to be the and Bill had mentioned it before the show. It's an homage to the the Superman Muhammad Ali cover, where you have just a really great audience of people, including down here at the bottom, Jimmy Carter and his wife,
in the exact same spot they were in the
exact same spot. Yeah. But let's look a little closer. Who else do they have there? Well, there's Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and she's actually a ghost. It's the ghost of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. You also have Batman. There's Aeon Flux. There's the Savage Dragon. There's Alfred E. Newman down at the bottom there. You've got a whole bunch of stuff. I spent about an hour. There's the Visitor from Mike Mignola's
I see Zoltar universe. From Gatchaman. I see Alf.
You've got Zoltar. You've got They Lives aliens. There's Samus from Metroid.
Oh my god, you've got Gleep and Gloop from the Herculoids.
Yep, you've also got aliens. You've also got the alien creature from Explorers, if you remember the movie Explorers with the young River
see
Phoenix.
Lobo.
There's Adam and Gamora. You've also got, sitting up here in the corner, Galactus and Uatu just hanging out. But there's just so many people here. There's
Marvin the Martian. There's
Yeah.
Jackson from
There's
Star
the
Wars.
Reese's Pieces alien in
Oh
blue
my
next to
God, that's
ET.
amazing.
It is
Oh,
insane. This thing, you know that Chris Burnham had a blast putting this together,
yeah.
and it's a funny, like it's
You
hilarious. It's
do know
funny. It's
I'm
crazy
getting
and
this
bloody.
before the weekend's out. You
Oh
do know
yeah,
that,
you
right?
should. Hopefully, you
Yeah.
could find an issue of this. This is so much fun, and I know it's
Mhm.
not everybody's cup of tea. People got really pissed off with them, and got personally offended apparently because they couldn't solicit this book, and so didn't know it was coming out originally, and so they just refused to buy any issues of it. And I
Mhm.
think I think people are missing out in how ridiculous and crazy it is.
Yeah.
So
Well,
if you can't get the
the
original
whole
floppies,
publishing history of Die 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 is really confusing.
oh, it's a mess.
You
It
know,
was based on how many copies of Oblivion Song #1 you
yeah.
bought, and
And
it is
the
what it
first issue
is.
was impossible to find. Then you could get
Yeah,
stacks, and they were
yeah,
still first prints. Yeah, it's been a very confusing ride with that. But
yeah. So
I need
it's
to get
just
that. I
wild.
absolutely need to get that. And for people who don't know, Superman versus Muhammad Ali is actually really good. It's actually like a really good Bronze Age comic. I do know they had that very deluxe edition. I hope that's still like
Mhm.
easily in print because that's something people should read because it's so much
There's
fun.
gotta be. There's
So
gotta
much
be.
fun. Yeah.
We've got
Metro.
some people were noticing some stuff. David had actually mentioned when we were talking about Justice League that he really needs to
Mhm.
read Naomi. Yeah, you should. It's
Yeah.
short. It's only 6 issues for the first
Yeah.
for that miniseries.
And
Um,
the collection's out now.
wasn't this the page where tracing controversy came back up of the alien? It is very possible. There are two aliens of the xenomorph kind that are in this. I don't recall, but it's possible because there's a lot of copyright characters that are in this from every comic company and every property that's ever existed, it seems.
Ever
So
in the history
it's
of
very
man.
likely that somebody might get in trouble
Since
for it.
you mentioned xenomorphs, I just wanted to thank my friend Vince. Vince is a huge Alien fan, and he was so worried that I would not get the first issue of Alien that he bought it for me, and this came in the mail today. So thank you,
Oh,
Vince. Isn't
so
that
great.
nice? It's so. I always
That
love
is
when
awesome.
people get you comics. It's such a nice feeling.
It is. It's pretty
It's
cool.
so nice.
And John, yes, Alf,
Yeah.
Yaz, and Galactus. Yeah, exactly. It's just it's fun to play. It's like Where's Waldo? If you get this book, just look in it and see how many you can identify. It's a blast. But anyway, Die 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 #14. They're on hiatus now before the next story arc, so you've got plenty of time to pick it up. Hopefully.
Okay. All right. The next book I want to talk about. Y'all know I love Tom Taylor. I love him as a writer. The biggest frustration with Tom Taylor, though, is the majority of his books, of his DC books, is they've been outside the main universe. Whether it's been
Yeah,
Injustice or
Injustice.
Deceased.
Yeah.
Yes, he wrote Suicide Squad. That was nothing like Suicide Squad. But, you know, um, he hasn't really operated too much in the main DC universe proper too much. This changes that. Okay, so this is Nightwing number 78. Acknowledges everything that's gone before, his time as a cop in Bloodhaven, his time as Rick, where after he was shot by the KG Beast and didn't have his full memory, acknowledges everything from the past, acknowledges his former romance with Barbara Gordon, which might not be so former anymore. So it's it operates as a love letter to the character's past, but it also puts him into the future in a really propulsive manner. A lot goes on. He rescues a dog. Okay. All right.
A dog in a tree for some reason.
No, the dog is being chased by thugs and they throw rocks
Oh.
at it and kick it, and it's really bad. And then when Dick rescues it, it bites him. So, but that's who Dick Grayson is. He'll stop everything to take care of something like that. I'm going to spoil the shit out of developments in here because you really can't talk about why this is such an important chapter in his life. As you know, Alfred has died in the DC universe. Killed just before the wedding that didn't happen when Bane took over Gotham. And it turns out that Alfred Pennyworth was a billionaire. Some of that was from Wayne stock, but he was very wise. So, it was actually a billionaire taking care of another billionaire. And he bequeaths his he bequeaths his estate to Dick Grayson. Now, you all know what happened with Bruce. His money's a bit tight. He's still rich as hell, but not Batman rich as hell, as we know. So this comes at the perfect time, as you'll see. And there's also somebody that's chasing Dick Grayson, and they're chasing Dick Grayson. They're not chasing Nightwing. There's a connection there to the Flying Graysons with an assassin that's made their appearance 2 times recently in Bloodhaven. I love this so much. I love Dick Grayson as a character. I've said it before. If there actually was a Trinity, it wouldn't be the Trinity that we have. It would be Superman, Jay Garrick, and Dick Grayson, because those are the 3 characters everyone likes. In terms of DC universe, in terms of the characters in the DC universe, if you're going to go to, 3 people to rely upon, Diana and Bruce aren't there. I'm sorry. And the artist in the book, and this kind of has it's been interesting because in the Superman we have Phil Hester again, and this is Bruno Redondo that does have a bit of a Phil Hester vibe, but a bit more streamlined. I love that shot there. And again, to have Tom Taylor operating in the DC universe in a fashion like this is something I've waited for a long time. So, Nightwing.
So
number 78. Number 78.
Number 78.
Yep.
Which it's great to see that they kept it.
Yeah, I mean, Justice League has a relaunch number 1. Harley Quinn has a relaunch number 1. We're going to get the same situation with Green Lantern, but I think with all of those franchises, there were sensible breaks that allowed the number 1 to happen. I'm very happy to see that we didn't have another new Wonder Woman number 1 or Action or Superman or any of those titles. And again, in the case of Wonder Woman and Flash, they reverted back to legacy numbering.
Yeah.
So that
same thing with Action and Detective as well. I mean, you're getting those legacy numberings, but you also didn't, for the ones that restarted in Rebirth, they didn't, renumber those, which is great. Not all of them, and some of them they did, but it is nice to see Nightwing is again not one of them that had to be given a new number 1.
Yeah.
We've got some notes, some comments here. David said, in reference to the dog. In
we'll
Nightwing,
see.
Is it?
It's Pizza Dog was a. We'll see with Girl, if it ends up with these amazing storylines that we had with Pizza Dog. We'll see.
She's into taco, so it's Taco Dog. Taco Dog. And then also in reference to Flash, your comment that Jake Garrick was the Flash everyone likes. Bill.
Oh yeah, no, I think Wally's there too. But I also go for a generational thing. So I do think if they're going to look for a leader from that generation, unquestionably it's going to be Dick.
Well, yeah. And then also David did kind of go back and explain a little bit more about the Xenomorph drawing controversy. So Tristan Jones accused Greg Land of tracing his Xenomorph drawing in a Marvel Alien comic. I think this is also a trace as a joke, quote unquote, but nobody told Tristan Jones. Very likely. I'm not too much into that. If it's not a Suidam tracing controversy, I probably don't know too much about it. But yeah, no, that's very likely. It'd be interesting to kind of find out a little bit more about that. But in this case, at least in Die, it's all parody. So
okay, you got another book?
I do have one more, and I wanted to give it a sort of like an honorable mention. And that is Lady Baltimore, number one, Lady Baltimore and the Witch Queens, Queens plural. I love the Baltimore series by Mike Mignola and Christopher Golden. I think it's really interesting. It kind of plays on a lot of the stuff that Mignola has sort of created in his Hellboy universe. Except there's no Hellboy in this universe. This is an alternate reality, so it's an alternate reality World War I where vampires were behind a lot of the the enemies. They used witches, and now Lady Baltimore takes place sort of in between the wars, but leading into what will become World War II, where the Nazis and the Axis powers are enlisting the help of Hexen Corps, going back to actual sort of traditional Germanic magic users and evil witches and their very bizarre familiars to try and take over the world again. But it's fantastic. It's wonderful. There's a queer under vibe to it with Lady Baltimore. She is the inheritor of the Baltimore legacy and grounds because she married Lord Baltimore at the very end, just before he died. But she didn't really get to get too intimate, I don't think, with him. But very fun, very cool. It is it's done by Mike Mignola and Christopher Golden and Bridget Connell on art, with colors by Michelle Madsen by Dark Horse. It's a 5-issue miniseries, like most of the Mignola series. So if you want, you can wait for it in trade, or you can pick it up and continue the series. But I recommend reading some of Baltimore to kind of figure out what's going on in this universe, because it's a little bit different than what you might be used to with Mignola.
Since this is a bear-oriented podcast, I would recommend that people take a note of the co-writer, who is Christopher Golden. Okay, just stick that name in Google, hit images. You don't know what he looks like?
Oh, no,
Steve.
I know what he looks like, but I know what he looks like. I'm just getting an image so that we can share it.
Oh, okay. But yeah. Once you get it up there.
Let's see if I can find. Well, some of these are a little bit older than others, but
get some of the salt and pepper ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do this one. Let's see if I can share this. Maybe it will let me. Maybe it won't. Who knows? Still playing with the StreamYard.
Yeah. If it's not happening, it's not happening. But
come on.
Google Christopher Golden, hit images. Yeah. But
there we go.
Y'all should do that.
Okay.
And he seems like a nice guy too. I have him as a Facebook friend. He seems like a fairly nice guy.
Oh.
No, he does. He does not appreciate a comic writer that I think is amazing. So,
really? Ooh, spill that tea! Come on, let's
that's not tea. He said it on camera. Grant Morrison. Grant Morrison is his least favorite writer in comics.
So Christopher Golden. Let me see if I can. Let's share.
You might want to stop this, Steve, because it's freezing a lot on my end, and this just
it's gonna freeze.
It just might not be worth
so,
it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we'll play with it later. But and again, it wouldn't make good radio either. So you can't see it.
This whole episode is not going to make good radio. But that's why we were saying what we were saying. Yeah. All right. Like you said, you have a quick one. This is my quick one, and I was shocked how much I enjoyed this book, because the lead character just doesn't resonate with me as it obviously resonates with the rest of the world. Joker #1. If I ran the world, we'd have like a 2-year moratorium on Batman, Joker, and Joker that left. Then the Batman that laughs, they'd all be like just on moratorium, and too much of them.
Yeah.
But I was always wondering how a Joker ongoing in modern day could work. There was one in the 70s, which was joke oriented, So
Hmm.
that was fine for that time. And the way that it is going to work is it's Commissioner Gordon centric.
Interesting.
The situation that he's in at this point is he's not part of the police force. He's been approached to come back in some capacity and eventually rejects that offer. Then a
Hmm.
private institution, after the events of what's been known as A-Day, where Arkham Asylum effectively blew up and hundreds of people died, is that he gets approached by a mysterious young woman, Clarissa, I believe her name is, and she represents an
Does she
organization. What?
does
Does she
she
explain it all?
explain it
Yeah.
all?
Yeah, and if I have that name wrong, I'm in real trouble. So, just seeing if I can quickly find the name. But she's obviously incredibly rich, and she represents an organization that wants the Joker killed. And they
Ooh.
approach Gordon about doing it. Gordon's the ideal candidate, given that what happened to him at various points, what happened to Barbara, and the wheels that were set in motion that led to his son dying as well.
Yeah.
And I was just from stepping back, I was like, how can a Joker ongoing work? And if it is based around Gordon's hunt for the Joker, who is now in Belize, okay, and not in Gotham, though all this stuff is happening, which seems to be another interesting story. I enjoyed this much more than I thought I would. So,
Hmm.
Joker #1. There's also a backup with Punchline, who probably would join Batman and Joker in my moratorium, but
And she's pretty new too. So
yeah. So it's nice to get surprised sometimes by something. I was
yeah.
expecting one thing, got another, and I ended up on the positive end of that. So, and it's selling like crazy. It's
Oh, is it?
very big numbers. Yeah.
Who's writing it again?
Tinian.
Tini. Oh, well, yeah, James Tinian. Which doesn't surprise me that he put Punchline in there because I think that's one that he co-created.
Created. I mean, I don't know if
Created.
the artist has a co-creation.
Mm.
Maybe I can take a look here, because they usually are pretty good about those credits nowadays. Let me see if they have it there. No, there's no credit line, but
Hmm.
as a writer, he is a creator of her.
Nice.
So 3
Yeah.
DC
Cool.
books, 3 independent books. Hope you got your money's worth since this was free, and enjoyed. So we're going to wrap this episode up, and when we wrap an episode of the Comic Book Bears up, we do so with a segment we call the Woofs of the Week segment. In the bear community, if you find a fellow attractive, you woof at him, and this is something similar that we've instituted for our final segment of the show. This is where we signify something which may be a comic book, but it may also be a TV program or a film or a charitable initiative, almost anything under the sun that we think you, fair listener or viewer, may be interested in sampling. Steve, what is your Wolf of the Week?
So, surprise, surprise, it's another TV show. And this one actually just came out, just aired for the first time on American TV yesterday, or yeah, it was last night, on the CW. And it's a revival of a show that I know, people of a certain age grew up watching. And I've seen in reruns only. It's a very odd show. In fact, my feelings of it, or of the original, I should say, are very much in line with Margaret Cho's chosen title for this show. Hey, that guy's not Chinese. So I think the creators of the reboot of this series decided to kind of take that line, that joke to heart, and recreated the series Kung Fu for 2021. And in this Kung Fu, hey, the lead character actually is Chinese, in fact, Chinese American. And it centers around a young woman who has gone to China as part of a sort of just a visit to explore sort of cultural history and just experience the country. And while she's there, she realizes that her mother has set her up to find a nice traditional Chinese husband, which she, of course, is like, no, ma'am, I'm not into that bullshit. And she decides to go and hide and run away to what ends up being a Shaolin temple. And one of the few Shaolin temples that is exclusive to Buddhist women monks. So she ends up, of course, spending the next 3 years training in the Kung Fu arts, doing all the cool fighting stuff, which is just fun, and learning how to fly a little bit with wire help. But anyway, it's, obviously tragedy happens. The temple is attacked, and her Shifu is killed, unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
as well as somebody who steals a mystical sword that might actually have some real magical powers to it. She goes back home to San Francisco, gets back with her family, learns about what's been going on for the past 3 years, that she's just kind of like been hanging out in China, learning how to do Kung Fu. And then also breaks up a small-time criminal racket that's been terrorizing the local Chinatown. So in other words, just has a good old bunch of fun setting up the entire world in this pilot episode. I'm really excited for it. I think it's really fun. It's cool. And the stunts are great. The fighting choreography is pretty good. I think they've got some kinks to work out because it is a CW show. So I know
I thought you were my friend.
I thought you were my friend.
My
I didn't want to tell you because I was really protecting you from blah, 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 whatever,
And
There's
I'm
already
24 years old, and I'm the CEO of a multinational organization. Yeah.
Thankfully, that hasn't happened yet. They all seem to be kind of like, realistic, sort of, except, the family that owns a dumpling restaurant seems to be able to put on a massive wedding for their other daughter that looks like it costs boku bucks in some San Francisco wedding venue. But anyway, it's fun. It's on the CW in the US, and probably going to be showing on like Netflix or wherever overseas if you don't have access to American television sooner than that. Anyway,
the Hey, That Guy's Not Chinese show.
Yeah.
I was a little too young to have watched that on network television, like US One Reels. Boring. Oh my God, that show was boring. And this
didn't it
looks
also
like
take place
there's
in
a
like
lot
colonial
more.
times or something, or like Wild West frontier
No,
times?
it was like it was like during the Industrial Revolution, definitely.
Oh, okay.
So I
Okay.
think he was in America because of the Chinese coming over to build the railroads, and then went on a quest outside. I don't know.
But hey, that guy's not Chinese. So
why do I have to figure it out?
And as David also mentions, Warrior and Into the Badlands are the gold standard for me. Yes, they are both really awesome. Warrior, I think, is probably a little bit more realistic than Into the Badlands or Kung Fu.
I watched the premiere of Into the Badlands, and it was like I went to the bathroom, I came back, and it was like a completely different show. Like I even checked if I changed the channels because it was such a tonal shift from what happened in the first 20 minutes to the remainder, and my head was never there. I have a little bit of a subwoof. This is just like kind of show and tell. I didn't know I still had this, and I found it in the bunker, and this is the super case. This is for singles from the 1970s. This was actually my super case from the 70s that I put records in, and the reason I sought it out in the bunker, and I was right where it was because I've been buying a lot of older vinyl singles. You see here, this is like the Monkees, and they need a box. So I found the box of the little subwoof, but this is mine from the 70s. Look how good shape that is. And these are all like
That's
mostly,
awesome.
The images of the DC characters that were used in advertising at the time. And so, if this was in the 80s, these would all be, Jose Garcia Lopez, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. But I'm so happy that still exists. So anyway, my woof is in relation to health. I had a wake-up call over something, and things have been going in the right direction. I know I I am Steve and Caleb and Brian when I had my first really good blood sugar reading. So, things are going in the right direction. But I've been trying to get into better shape. And, there's muscle there, there's a little bit there. But I've also started yoga. So I've been using this. This is Rodney Yee's Daily Yoga. It comes from an imprint called Gaiam, which has like a ton of stuff. Kicking my ass. Yoga kicks your ass, but I am feeling better. I'm certainly more limber, and hopefully, within a few more weeks, I'll really be seeing some results. The gyms are back open here, and the gym I belong to is a 24-hour. I still haven't felt comfortable enough to go into a gym despite having both vaccinations, but at some point I'll start that up again. But till then, at home, it's Rodney Yee's Daily Yoga that's helping me out. So that's why I worked the week.
Just to say, gyms are petri dishes in non-pandemic times, so I understand that. But yeah, I've actually I've never personally done Runny's yoga, but I know that a lot of the Gaiam like instructional videos and stuff seem to be kind of the gold standard, more or less, for for getting yoga to a lot of people, because it's they have so many different levels available and things like that. And eventually, when you're more comfortable, if the local gym actually has a good yoga class, seek that out.
They don't have
crazy.
They don't have classes there. They don't have spinning class. They don't. This gym isn't set up that way.
Oh.
Yeah, they don't have anything like that. I do think they used to have kettlebell, like a group kettlebell thing, which seemed weird to me because that seems like such an individualized exercise.
Group kettlebell.
But
that kind of sounds like.
And actually they have personal trainers, but they don't really have. They really don't have groups, and I always sucked in that kind of context anyway. I was once part of something, and I just wasn't into it. I bailed I bailed before I had to pay. So
there you go.
That was a good thing. But, yeah, I would love to do that. But I'm also the kind of wired that, what if I'm just not into it that day, and you have to be in your game, and so, and there's 5 different exercises, and there's also a downloadable content. That downloadable I haven't tried, and the strengthen the core, I'll never do that again. That was fucking painful. But the other 4 exercises I think I will. And also looking for like a more concentrated weight loss yoga, but as a first step I felt this was good. So yeah,
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Making noises like that and swaying as we are, that's telling me we should wrap this one up. And again, we are the Comic Book Bears podcast. You can find us on the Twitter and the Tumblr and the Instagram as Comic Book Bears. You can find us on the Facebook as Comic Book Bears Podcast. You can write to us at comicbookbears@gmail.com. If you want to listen to us, please do so by downloading us through iTunes, listening to us through Stitcher Radio, or catching us through some of the other podcasting platforms. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and on any of those platforms, please leave a review if they allow you to. We are always trying to expand our profile, and any kind words that you offer would always greatly be appreciated. So until next time, I'm Bill Zanowitz.
And I'm Steve Morey.
You're going to hear a wolf and an explosion if you're listening, and we'll be back real soon. Take care, everyone.
Bye.